Stay connected to gratitude. Hit the follow button right now and join thousands of listeners tuning in each week. We're the Gratitude Seekers. Come join us. Hi, Gratitude Seeker, and welcome to this end of the year episode. Each year, I love to invite you to a gratitude session, a time to reflect on all of the positive things that have happened this year, to think about the things that you're grateful for in each month of this passing year, so that you will start the next year with gratitude in your heart. But firstly, I wanted to thank two of our listeners that were generous enough with their time to write reviews on Apple Podcasts. The first one comes from Canada. It's a 4-star review, and I appreciate it because it's a constructive review. I thoroughly enjoy the podcast and have been listening almost daily for the past month. One piece of feedback: the pace and style of the person who introduces the podcast seems to me like a mismatch with the show. Thank you so much, SNGMC, for this feedback. I really appreciate it. There is indeed an intro that's more dynamic and quite different from the pace of the Gratitude podcast in general. It's a really good observation, and I'll make sure that I won't be using it anymore. The second review comes from Z-Links from Germany. This podcast has helped me through my darkest hours of life in the past year. When I have mind fog, I listen to this and it makes me shift my focus on whatever matters in life by counting my blessings. I appreciate you guys for doing a fantastic job. Thank you. Thank you so much, Z-Links. This is the exact purpose of the Gratitude podcast, and I'm really happy that you chose to tune in and that you found it so helpful. Please send me an email at hello@georgianbentat.com. You might have just discovered the podcast, or you might have been listening for a couple of years or so. But as I said earlier, we have a tradition here that at the end of each year, we do a gratitude review. We think about those things in each month that made us feel grateful. I don't know how your year was, but mine was a really tough one. And I believe that this exercise is even more important if you had a tough year. In my case, the year didn't start too well. And as you can see, it took me quite a while to be able to speak about this. My father's condition got worse and worse. We were all trying to keep positive, but we were all afraid. And unfortunately, on January 10th, he was taken to the hospital by the paramedics, and the next day he passed away. On my birthday, January 14th, I was at his funeral. I wanted to share this with you when it happened, but I just couldn't. Before his illness, he was very active, and he fought the illness with courage and dignity. We all hoped that he will stay with us more. He was only 69. And I'm telling you this right now, not to bog you down, but because I want this to be something useful for you. A reminder maybe to appreciate the presence of your loved ones, even if they're not perfect, even if there are things that you might not like or you might not agree on. Cherish their presence. Do your best to create experiences that you would remember. Because if you remember the last year's gratitude reviews, I always mention the fact that on my birthday or on a date that was close to my birthday, my parents would come over and we would share a meal together and enjoy each other's presence. Unfortunately, this year on my birthday, he was not with us anymore. Last year's Christmas was our last one. And as he used to say, we're not promised the next day. So we should cherish the one that we have right now and the people that we have in our life. So look at the things that you appreciate in the people around you, whether that's your family or friends or colleagues maybe. Or, as you might know, of an exercise that we talked about on the podcast, before you go visit, think about at least 3 things that you appreciate about them. And the interesting thing is that they will come up more often and the relationship will definitely improve. But getting back to our 36 reasons to feel grateful for 2022, as I was saying, even though we might have had many things that didn't make us feel grateful, many hardships, many challenges of different kinds, we can still find that glimmer of light, that ray of hope, by looking at the things that make us grateful, the good things that have happened in each month of 2022. The easiest way that I've found to do this is by looking at pictures and videos. When we feel good, when we have something that we want to cherish, or when we see something that we find interesting or amazing, we tend to take a picture or to make a video of it. Whether we post it online on Facebook or on Instagram, or we keep it for ourselves or for friends and family, we tend to have quite a few memories that can elicit a state of gratitude. In your Photos app, whether you use Google Photos for backup or just the Photos app on your phone, you can search for January 2022, for instance. In this way, you'll be able to find those photos and videos that you recorded or that you received in the month of January. Another way to do this is by looking at your gratitude journal, whether that's an online one, an app, or a written gratitude journal. Either way, it's a great way to relive those beautiful moments, to appreciate all of the great things that have happened in this passing year. Our tendency is to look at the bad things that have happened, the things that made us suffer, that brought us down, that were worse than in the past. And these are part of life too. But I believe that gratitude can help us cherish the beautiful moments even more, and also help us balance things out and empower us to keep ourselves afloat while navigating the harsh tides that we experience in life sometimes. So for me, in January, I'm grateful that I received a beautiful gratitude list from a listener where I was happy to find that the gratitude podcast was mentioned. And I quote, "This year wouldn't have turned around so quickly without the wisdom I learned from the podcast. I actually did a screenshot of that, so that's why I was able to find it in January's photos. And I encourage you to do the same whenever you receive positive feedback, to take a screenshot of it or to take a photo. It's so wonderful at the end of the year to be able to relive this, to remember that your work is appreciated, that you are appreciated, and to see things beyond just the challenges of everyday life. And this is just one of the 3 things that I appreciate about January. Another one would be the support that I was able to give my mother, and the support that I received from all of the people that were at the funeral. I got very emotional and I cried at the funeral because I was so grateful that there were so many people there that really appreciated him and that really missed him. My father was a religious man. He helped as much as he could, quite a few churches and quite a few priests in my hometown and around. He created and installed beautiful chandeliers in many churches in my home county. And at his funeral, there were 5 priests that prayed for him and that had beautiful things to say about him. And I knew how important that was for him. And that made me cry, as it does now. But I don't want to make this about me. It's just that it's something that I wouldn't have thought would get me so emotional. So take the time, either now or later on in the day, and think about those 3 things that you're grateful for in January of 2022. Write them down either on a piece of paper or on your computer or on your phone, because at the end of this exercise, you will have 36 reasons to feel grateful for 2022 that are very personal. In February, for me, for instance, I have being recommended as a podcast amongst 10% Happier and Super Soul, which meant a lot to me. Celebrating my mom's birthday, being able to be there for her, and going out in nature for short walks to get my body moving, to get some fresh air and some perspective on life. As you can see, these aren't big things. They don't have to be big things, but just things that you can appreciate about that specific month. I was still grieving, of course, and there are different stages of grief that I got to experience. Even though I knew about them mentally, they've influenced me in different ways at different times this year. So many of the things that I've written on the list are actually things that have helped me stay afloat. And one experience from March really touched me, even though I wasn't able to tell that person. She actually will find out right now because she's a listener of the podcast. After the interview that I did with her, she told me that the podcast has helped her and her sister go through their own grief easier. And I cried when I heard that. But I wasn't able to say anything. But that meant so much for me. Knowing that my work was helping them through their own pain while I was grieving as well. So thank you for sharing that with me. I didn't ask the permission to share your name, but I'm sure you know who you are. So what are the 3 things that made you feel grateful in March? Look them up on your phone, on your laptop. Relive those beautiful moments and write them down. Aside from the moment I just shared with you, another moment that really touched me was the driver that we had in Bali reaching out, asking us if we were okay, knowing that the war in Ukraine was so close to our country. That was so thoughtful and so wonderful for us because, to be honest, we were afraid. At that moment, we had no idea whether Russia will stop at Ukraine or will continue to Romania. At that point, they seemed to be winning and to be marching easily through Ukraine. So that really meant a lot. In April, by looking at the photos that I've taken, I can almost smell the rebirth of nature, and the beautiful flowers, all of the colors, all of the hope that spring brings with it. I am grateful for being able to take care of my father's bees. He was also a beekeeper, and thankfully I have a good friend that's passionate about bees as well, and he was able to help me take care of the bees that survived the winter. So what are the 3 things that you are grateful for in the month of April? Either take the time to write them down right now, or do this whenever you have the time. But please take these days to do this exercise and go through each month. And you will, like I said, have a beautiful list of 36 things to be grateful for in this passing year. To continue giving you some examples of what you can write in each month, let's look at May. In May, I was finally able to work from the balcony, and I could spend as much time outside as I wanted because the weather was good and I could breathe fresh air while typing on my laptop. After spending so much time in boxes, being outside is just amazing. So I'm grateful for that experience and I'm reliving it right now. I'm also grateful for Allbirds for sponsoring the podcast and producing such high quality shoes that help me enjoy nature walks even more. And last but not least, trading the unused wax from my father's beehive for candles from local producers. So that was my May. How about yours? As you can see, it's usually a mix between unique moments and things that happen each year or each day even that make us feel grateful. I won't be going into all of the things that I have written down. I will just give you one idea from my own list so that it will inspire you to write your own and to complete these 36 reasons to feel grateful about 2022 list. In June, we traveled. We went to Italy, and it was great being so involved in the whole process and so present that helped me forget about some of the things that were happening either in the world at large or in my world. So I'm very grateful that we got to have this experience, to visit so many beautiful places in Italy, seeing Rome for the first time, seeing the Amalfi Coast, and just enjoying life and the present moment. As my father used to say, be happy, dears. In July, we went to see the lavender fields bloom, and in spite of potentially bad weather, I got to film lightning in slow motion. And surprisingly enough, it was the most appreciated video that I ever made on Instagram. You can check it out on the Gratitude Podcast on Instagram under Reels. It's truly majestic. In August, I was really blessed to enjoy quite a lot of pet therapy, in the sense that we took care of friends' pets, cats or dogs, whether we just had to feed them because they were on vacation or walk them each day. It's always great being able to help out and also to enjoy some pleasant company. As you know, I love pets, especially cats, but I love dogs as well. So I'm really grateful for that in August because I had several such experiences and it really helped me center and get balanced. And I actually realized this a few days ago, that a way of connecting to nature is actually by interacting with our pets. Even if we don't have the time maybe to go out and be in nature, I think a great way of connecting with nature is by petting our dog or our cat, or playing with them, or just having them near. In September, I'm really grateful that after a lot of waiting, I was able to purchase the drone. I love nature, I love being out in nature, and I love taking pictures of nature. And the drone allows me to have so much freedom with this, and I can also work my creative muscle and create some beautiful movies, short videos out of the footage that I get from the drone. In October, I'm really grateful that I got to spend some quality time with my brother, flying the drone together in a spot that I didn't know that was a spot for drone enthusiasts and small plane enthusiasts. And it was a really nice gift because my brother was very passionate about creating airplane models and flying them. And we got to see some really experienced small plane pilots doing some amazing things in the sky. In November, one of the things that I'm grateful for is a beautiful walk through an evergreen forest. When nature started to lose its colors, we got to be nourished by this beautiful evergreen forest. And we also got to eat some great food that we did not expect to be that good, while enjoying a beautiful view. In December, the reason for being grateful that I'm going to share with you is a really simple one, but it does make me grateful and proud. I'm the first one in the family to own a car, so I don't know much about cars. I don't know much about doing a lot of things that are related to cars. And when I need help with smaller things, I usually ask a friend to help me out. After doing that for a while, I wanted to learn as well. So when the second light bulb from my headlights burned out, I tried to replace it myself. And I know for some cars this is really simple, but in my case, it's quite complicated, especially because you can't see much there, so you just have to feel your way through. So I went with the new light bulb, and I tried to do this. After a lot of trials and errors, I gave up. I said, okay, I'm just not cut out to do this. I have other qualities, but this is not one of them. After taking a break, I looked at some YouTube videos on how I could do this, and long story short, I was able to do it. Even more so, I was able to correct what my friend did that wasn't quite right with the other headlight. And I'm really grateful for that, for the fact that I was able to not just do it for the first headlight, but I was also able to understand how it works and keep my passengers and myself safe by correcting the other headlight as well. So I'm really grateful for that. So, like I said, I wanted to give you some examples of things that you can be grateful for. And also I wanted to be honest with you and to be transparent about my situation and the fact that it wasn't an easy year for me. But if you are going through a harder year, I think it's so important to do this exercise and to just see the good things that have happened and the things that you are grateful for in this passing year. So thank you so much for listening. I wish you an amazing new year with many, many, many things to be grateful for. Thank you so much.
My name is Anthony Capizzoli. I am the host of the Dismantled Life podcast, and I'm a recovering alcoholic and drug addict after nearly 40 years of addiction. I have been clean and sober for nearly 4 years and work hard to help others find recovery. Join me each episode to learn from my sober superhero guests and how they went from the darkness of addiction into the sunlight of recovery. Dismantled Life can be found on Digitent Podcasts, Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.